On July 19th, one national team will lift the World Cup trophy and split a $50 million prize among an entire federation. Cristiano Ronaldo makes that same amount of money in about 65 days. Not from the World Cup, just from existing, somewhere between the biggest prize in team, sports history, and the personal bank account of one 41-year-old man. The math stops making sense. Let's actually look at where the money goes, because almost nobody watching the games has the real numbers. Start with the tournament itself. FIFA is handing out $871 million this cycle. That's not a typo, and it's not close to what previous World Cups paid. Qatar 2022 distributed $440 million. This one nearly doubles it, mostly because the tournament expanded to 48 teams and FIFA's broadcasting and sponsorship revenue came in higher than projected. Here's how that money actually gets split up. Every single qualified team, even the ones that lose all 3 group games and go home in disgrace, walks away with at least $12.5 million. Guaranteed just for showing up. Lose in the group stage specifically, and the payout climbs to $9 million on top of that base. Make the round of 32, a stage that didn't even exist before this tournament, and it's $11 million. Round of 16, $15 million. Quarterfinals, $19 million. Fourth place takes 27. Third place, 29. The runner-up walks away with $33 million for finishing second in the entire world, and still somehow that's considered the losing side. And the champion, the team that wins it all on July 19th, collects $50 million in performance money alone, which on top of the guaranteed base pushes their total past $63 million. That sounds enormous, and it is by National Federation standards. But here's the part almost nobody mentions. That money doesn't go to the players. It goes to the federation first. The English Federation, the Brazilian Federation, the American Federation. From there, each country decides for itself. How much trickles down to the actual players on the field, and the going rate across most federations is somewhere between 20 and 30%. So when a team wins that $50 million prize, the players aren't splitting $50 million. They're splitting somewhere around 10 to 15 million, divided across a 26-man roster. Coaching staff and support personnel. Do that math and you land somewhere in the range of a few $100,000 per player for winning the single greatest prize in the sport, which is, frankly, a rounding error compared to what these same players make in a normal week at their actual jobs. Cristiano Ronaldo's contract with Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia pays him somewhere around $200 to $235 million a year in salary alone. Add endorsements from Nike, Herbalife, Binance, and his own CR7 brand of hotels and fragrances, and his total annual earnings land north of $260 million. Break that down, and Ronaldo earns roughly $700,000 a day, every day, whether he's playing, training, or asleep. His entire World Cup bonus, even if Portugal somehow wins the whole thing, wouldn't cover a single week of his actual income. Kylian Mbappé isn't in that stratosphere, but he's not exactly struggling either. His Real Madrid contract plus a Nike deal alone worth over $25 million a year push his total annual earnings to somewhere around $95 to $100 million. Erling Haaland, Manchester City's Norwegian goal machine, sits around $80 million a year once you add his endorsement portfolio to a club salary that already makes him the highest paid player in the Premier League. Lionel Messi's Inter Miami deal is structured almost like a business partnership rather than a normal contract, with revenue sharing tied directly to Apple's MLS broadcasting numbers and Adidas jersey sales, pushing his total earnings to somewhere around $140 million a year. Here's what's actually interesting about these numbers, though. It's not the salaries. Everybody already knows elite athletes make absurd money. What's interesting is where that money comes from, because for the very top tier, it's barely coming from football anymore. Ronaldo's endorsement income alone is around $60 million a year, separate from his salary entirely. Mbappé's Nike deal by itself is worth more than the entire annual salary of most professional footballers on the planet. These players aren't just athletes being paid to play a sport. They're walking media companies, and the jersey is basically a billboard. And that gap between the guy earning $700,000 a day and the guy on a smaller national team, who'll go home with maybe a few $100,000 for his entire World Cup run, tells you something about how football's money actually flows. It doesn't flow evenly across the sport. It pools at the very top, in the handful of players whose faces alone can move product on every continent. While the World Cup itself, this supposedly once in 4 years financial jackpot, ends up being a comparatively modest paycheck for most of the players competing in it. None of this is to say the World Cup payout is small. $871 million spread across 48 nations is genuinely transformative money for federations that have never seen anything close to it, especially smaller countries where $12.5 million guaranteed can fund youth programs and infrastructure for years. For those federations, this tournament matters in a very real, very different way than it does for a player already sitting on a $250 million income. But for the handful of names splashed across every jersey ad and every commercial break during the tournament, the World Cup was never really about the prize money. It's about something the biggest endorsement deal in the world still can't buy. A trophy that Ronaldo at 41 still doesn't have. Money can't fix that gap. And for one more summer, everyone gets to watch him try. If you want to see how FIFA itself makes even more off this tournament than every player combined, go watch the FIFA revenue video next. Same event, completely different money story. And subscribe if you want more of these numbers broken down.